Hey everyone. So a lot of people have been asking me about the solving trig equations, so I'm going to make a video going over them. So we'll start with tan x equals root 3. This one should have been a little bit more straightforward. So root 3, that would be 60 degrees, but whenever we do trig, that it always do it in radians. So to turn that into radians, that is pi over 60 over 180 is 1/3. So pi over 3. And then tangent, all students take calculus, is quadrant 3. So then I have to put pi over 3 into quadrant 3. And that's pi over 3 plus pi. So that's 4 pi over 3. I don't know however you learned it. Maybe you just have them all memorized. I don't. I always I have a method of just figuring it out. Okay, so that's 22, 23. Change color. Alright, cosine squared equals 1. So then that means that, no, I wrote that wrong. It's 2 cosine squared x equals 1. Sorry, I wrote the problem wrong. Alright, so that means cosine squared x equals 1/2. Square root both sides. Cosine x equals plus or minus 1 over root 2, which is plus or minus root 2 over 2. So that's your 45 degrees, or pi over 4. And then it's plus or minus. So we're putting pi over 4 into all 4 quadrants. So let's see. 1 minus 1/4, 3 pi over 4. 1 plus 1/4, 5 pi over 4. And 2 minus 1/4 is... Sorry, my brain stopped working. 2 minus 1/4. Wow, my brain. 7 pi over 4. And those are your answers. So those were the easier ones. Alright, so this one, a lot of times I think it's easiest. I get rid of the sign. Like if I have this as 2a squared minus 5a plus 2 equals 0. What would I do to solve that? I would factor it. So 2a, so I just replaced all the signs with a's. A, so I get minus 2 minus 1 equals 0. So then I have 2 sine x minus 1 equals 0. So when we're factoring, right? Sine x minus 2 equals 0. Sine x equals 2 is no solution, right? And then sine x equals 1/2. Oops. That's 30 degrees, which is pi over 6. And then again, all students, I need to put pi over 6 into quadrant. What is pi over 6 in quadrant 2? So that's 1 minus 1/6, 5 pi over 6. Again, if you have a lot of kids I know memorize the unit circle. Alright, so these are the ones that are a little harder now. So secant squared of x minus 4 equals 0. So secant squared x equals 4. Right? So, but what is secant the reciprocal of? It's the reciprocal of cosine. So what I'm going to do is the reciprocal of secant is cosine. So cosine squared x, the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. So then I take the square root of both sides, plus or minus 1/2. Cosine equals 1/2 at 60 degrees, which is pi over 3. And then it's plus or minus, so again, all 4 quadrants. 1 minus 1/6 is 5 pi over 6. 1 plus 1/6 is 7 pi over 6. 2 minus 1/6 is 11 pi over 6. And those are my 4 answers. Alright, for this one, we have signs on both sides, and they have an exponent. So I'm going to bring the sign on the right over. So 2 sine cubed x minus sine x equals 0. I'm going to factor out a sign. There's signs everywhere. So sine x, 2 sine squared x minus 1 equals 0. So we have sine x equals 0. And then sine squared x equals a half. Square root of both sides. Plus or minus 1 over root 2, which again is root 2 over 2. Sine equals 0 at 0, so this one, 0, pi, 2 pi. And sine equals root 2 over 2, pi over 4 in all 4 quadrants. 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4. That's it. Alright, so now we're getting into the more difficult ones. Alright, so if you notice, we have cosine of 2x times sine x plus sine x equals 0. So we have sine everywhere, so you can factor that out. Now, be careful. I saw someone just divide, but remember, you don't want to lose some problem. So, all right, so I factor out sine. So then sine equals 0. And cosine of 2x equals negative 1. So sine equals 0 at 0, pi, and 2 pi. Oh, and I know some of the answers, they might have wanted all solutions. Some of them wanted all solutions. Some of them wanted just 0 to 2 pi. I'm just going to do the 0 to 2 pi ones. All right, so now cosine equals negative 1 at pi. So 2x equals pi. X equals pi over 2. And then pi, 2x also could equal 3 pi. So x equals 3 pi over 2. So we have all of those answers. One of you, I can't remember, I was grading, looking at your work, and you divided by sign, so you lost your 0, pi, and 2 pi answers. So be careful with that. Alright, so now we're getting into the harder ones. So what I did here was I rewrote this as sine and cosine. So secant squared is 1 over cosine squared. And then 4 sine squared over cosine squared. And I got 0 on one side. So 1 over cosine squared x minus 4 sine squared x over cosine squared x equals 0. Put that into one fraction. So the denominator can never equal 0, so we can't ignore that. The top factors, 1 plus 2 sine x, 1 minus 2 sine x, or you could just solve however you want to do it. So let's see, sine x equals 1/2 plus or minus. So when does sine equal a half? So that's 30 degrees, which is pi over 6. So we got pi over 6 in all 4 quadrants. So 1 minus 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6. So those are all your answers. Alright, last one. This one's the hard one. Okay, cosine of 2x. This is, you may not have this memorized. I haven't memorized. I'm shocked that I do. I looked it up, but I was right. Cosine of 2x is 1 minus 2 sine squared of x. If you look up your double angle theorem for cosine of 2x, cosine of 2x equals a bunch of stuff. I think it's cosine squared minus sine squared. It's 2 cosine squared x minus 1, and it's 1 minus 2 sine squared x. Somehow I've memorized that even though I haven't taught that topic in forever. Okay, so the ones cancel out. I can factor out a sign. I'm actually going to factor out a negative sign. So negative sine x, we're left with 2 sine x plus 1 equals 0. So this is another one where for the sine x equals 0, this one, we get 0 pi, 2 pi. And then sine x equals negative 1/2. That is, again, 30 degrees, pi over 6. But it's pi over 6 in quadrant. All students take 3 and 4. So quadrant 3 is 7 pi over 6. And quadrant 4 is 11 pi over 6. So 7 pi over 6. Wow, Brianna. 7 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6. And those are all of your answers. Alright. That's it. Alright, if you have any more questions, just send me an email. I'll see you guys later. Bye.